if I had nitric oxide in this water, I could dose it and get more. And I found that it would work. Okay? So I discovered that, and so that became T24B. And T24C is a variant in which I can take the ORP, oxidation reduction potential.
We know ORP.
Okay, sorry. But I could drive the ORP to a negative 800 milliliters.
Now
That's some serious that's some power.
And normally I take it to negative 200. But in this water that Mary's drinking, it's masked, so it's not visible.
The water I'm drinking, so I don't. That's why I don't taste it.
It's not measurable.
Oh, okay.
You drive it to what number?
I'm a seriously bad science guy. Negative 800 MV is millivolts.
Wow.
So that's T24C. Oh yeah. And
Sorry, that's a big number.
Dr. Flanagan,
I know Patrick.
do you?
I know everybody in this group.
Okay. He would be concerned with me right now, but I'm not saying anything. All right, and then T24D is yet another water in which I have something else in it. And I can take the 4 waters, and I have a continuous flow process, and I can mix them together at different ratios to focus on different issues. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. The chondrosarcoma patient, Loretta, she's just on the 400 on the antioxidant, right?
She's on the nitric oxide.
She's just on the nitric oxide, okay, because it has stopped the metastasis of her chondrosarcoma. Stopped it. So and that's impossible to do.
Mary?
She drinks 60 ounces a day, and it has literally
That's
stopped.
6-0 or 1-6?
6-0.
Do you?
Yeah.
And just to tell you what a doofus I am, how did I pronounce metastasis when I first talked to you on the phone?
Oh, I can't remember. I giggled.
Metastasis.
And I said, wait a minute. Wait, back up. Say that
I
again.
just don't. I've never sat through a lecture. I don't know even how to say the terms. I realize I love cell biology, but I don't know how to pronounce. And so you'll hear a little bit from me. I'm sorry. So at any rate, I have developed 4 types of water. I can focus them into different areas. And I have also developed a device. And the device, Mary doesn't know about it yet, but the device will magnify the effects of the nitric oxide. The urine is a very light yellow in comparison with this device. And I don't know what that means. I'm not a doctor. And the foam is tremendous, and I don't know what that means.
So the urine...
If you urinate into a urinal or a toilet, Mr. Man, I'm sorry, ladies.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, so I'm just kind of, these are the things I noticed,
this
but
is-
the effect
This
is
is when you add the device
when the device is added
to just the nitric oxide water.
to the body.
So, but they've got to be on the water, yes or
The
no?
person has to drink the water, and then they have to attach a device, and it's easily worn, and surprising results with nitric oxide.
And they'll be on the device for 24 hours or for weeks?
Usually about 30 minutes a day.
Is it a homes type of thing that would be affordable in the homes? Is it going to be clinical type?
Very affordable.
Yeah.
And what they're going to see is that the urine in the individual becomes...
That's one of the most noticeable effects that we see. And you can focus it on a locale joint or arthritis in an area or in lesion on the skin, you can actually promote healing faster.
So what is that doing? Is that diluting the
I want to be
toxic
sure.
level?
Are you suggesting that the urine has a less intense yellow color, or that it's less yellow when they use the device?
Yeah, it's very light yellow. Yeah.
And
Normally we would see, I'm sorry ladies, but we'd normally see maybe a little bit of brownish in the color of urine, but now it's almost a very light yellow,
So,
almost like a fluorescent color.
so that I'm not overstating it, a lot of people right now take supplements and their urine is an extremely dark yellow, very bright yellow. If they use the device and the water, that color is going to be not that.
I would expect. Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting. I mean,
So is
I
that
don't know what it means.
diluting? Would that be diluting toxins?
Well, it takes a lot of figuring out. It takes a lot of figuring out because
What
when
about the foam?
when you have somebody with no renal function left, they can't concentrate urine, and the urine is always nearly the color of water. So in general, if you're trying to restore renal function, and as we look at people getting older, more and more the function of every organ is deteriorating, but nitric oxide has some specific effects on renal blood flow, etc. So there's a lot of ways of looking at this.
Okay. I don't know what it means. It's just one of the things I've noticed. And so just to let you know, there is also...
These are things that you need to record because as we get more into business of a decision that's made, these are things you need to record that Gary knows.
Oh,
Because-
yeah, but he's got a couple more hours that he's got to download into my brain, so let's let him
Okay.
keep on downloading it.
Right.
You know, the more I have in here, the more I'll be able to backtrack.
Okay. Let me think. Let me pause for one historical things if I've covered everything. Nitric oxide is, let's talk about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas. It gets synthesized in the body. It has a half-life of 7 seconds. And obviously I'm not putting nitric oxide in the water, but it's obviously a nitrogen precursor of nitrogen.
Which normal people would have been selling arginine, and arginine does some effects there, and they sell a lot of it.
And from nitric oxide, you know, the science of it, we know that it's a vasodilator. Oh, I'm sorry, I'd say that wrong too.
No, that's
That's
Is it
right.
vaso?
No,
that's right.
No, you did fine.
Yeah.
You done good.
Because Dr. Melby corrected me.
And remember,
He's an ER doctor.
and remember, however we teach you here, if we took you from England, they'll probably correct it again.
Oh.
So let's not worry about it.
So we know that it promotes circulation, and we have some interesting evidence of that. It's an anti-inflammatory, nitric oxide. It does promote healing, and it does promote the immune system. So these are all things that are available and public knowledge.
Lon, is it easy to find the portable microphones? We even mic him and keep all the sound track?
We could, but this one's going to do better to catch the mic in this room.
Okay.
This, remember, catches everything.
Okay, good enough. That's fine. So we're back on.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting. We see the effects of nitric oxide, and we understand them in the science community. And I'm able to leverage off of a lot of that because I see so many results in our study that certainly suggest there's nitric oxide synthase occurring. And I will submit that I have a different pathway to accomplish that. I've been really concerned. The girl whose eye healed quickly, the children or the youths whose acne cleared quickly, the healing that my father experienced, the healing of wounds and so on, has been kind of a surprise to me, and I suspect it's fibronectin,
That's a good term. Yes.
soluble fibronectin, and that does promote cell migration, healing, blood clotting, all that. And so I kind of suspect that is the case. And there is a study I've seen where nitric oxide will increase phytonectin by sevenfold.
True.
And so I kind of think I'm hooked in there. Vasodilation, of course, is evident with ED. I've not really affected any change with balding of men. I've not seen any effect at all with there, and I don't understand. I would have expected.
And I've got a bald man right now putting Q24 packs on his head just to see.
Okay. May take a while. We know it's a neurotransmitter. I've had a number of people tell me that their depression goes away and other mental kind of issues resolve with people. It's a cytotoxin, so it helps, macrophage, killing of cells. And also, and I wrote about this in the paper I published, that it mediates nuclear factor kappa B, and so and that is essentially to nuclear factor kappa B will determine. You know all about this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Well, those are all cell signaling that we're definitely.
So we're talking about tumors
Sure.
and cancer and such. We're talking about the propensity of a cell to inflame because the P55 receptor is plugged up with soluble TNF, and we know the pathway that all of that occurs, and so we have a disposition of many cells, especially as we age, to go into an inflammatory mode, and so we have many of the aging and obesity problems that are occurring at the same time, and somehow I'm having effects on those things. I want to talk about some of the study results. We've already talked about the eye. We've talked about...
On that eye, do we know what the diagnosis was on that girl? You don't have to remember. The mother had lupus, correct?
The mother had lupus, and the girl had lupus. The girl had West Nile virus also. And apparently it was a pressure pulse in the caused the blowout of the blood vessels, capillaries.
Okay.
And it was only one eyeball that did it.
Okay.
That's all I know.
That's enough.
One of the things I noticed with the water, which is really surprising, was when I was 19, I had a serious back injury, and I'd suffered all of my adult life with pain, and so I couldn't bend over and pick up and do many of those things. I'd be very cautious, and I was always adjusting my back and at the mercy of chiropractors. One of the things I noticed that after I'd been on the nitric oxide component of water for about 3 to 4 months, that my back wouldn't pop, and I wouldn't seem to have any problems at all. And I could straight leg bend over and start pulling deep tap-rooted weeds out, and no effect whatsoever.
That was 3 to 4 months.
It took that long, but I'm not sure why, but that's the way I am right now. I just, it used to be every evening I'd have to lay down and snap the back a certain way, and so somehow that cartilage tissue was restored, and again, it's probably the fibronectin
That's a good
component.
spot. That's a good spot.
That's what I'm thinking. Mary knows somewhat about the detox effects of the water, and I actually have a business opportunity in that area with someone who's promoting the foot bath, and that the studies that he's involved with show that when someone drinks the water, they can expel more things quicker out of their feet.
Okay, let's back up here though. That foot bath that they've been testing with has the metal
I know
rods.
all about it.
Okay, but the other foot baths don't seem to do this. It's the one with the metal rods are the ones that enhance the detox.
So it was kind of interesting, but they say that that people rid themselves of toxins much faster. And all I could think is, well, it's the vasodilation effect. And it may be some ionic bonds that we're changing. Yes?
I'm just.
Oh, you're peeking. That's
Oh.
okay. Grab a chair.
You're welcome to sit in on what we're talking about. And it'd be very nice if you learn which buttons he's using so that so that we don't have
Show you
to.
how to shut it off, yeah.
So that was really interesting, was the detox part, and that appears to be of interest to one fellow who wants to license the water product and like focus the blends specifically for that application. Another interesting thing was hangover. I don't drink.
My
And
daughter,
I don't know
my
many-
daughter loves this water. She wants to take it into the bars and sell it.
And I'll tell you, I did a really bad thing. I ran studies at the University of Arizona where my sons, who are in their 20s, would take water to the university fraternities and just give it out for free. And it was labeled and bottled all nice, but giving it out for free. And then for many weeks they did this. And then they went to the same places and said, we're not giving it away anymore, but you can go down to such and such club. And they named off several clubs. This is called manipulating a market. And then we waited several weeks after they told these kids this. And then they went into the clubs and talked to the managers, and said that, they're providing this hangover tonic. And the managers knew all about it because it had been requested many times. They didn't know where they were coming from. And so they wanted to do some studies, which they did. And we got it to a point where we could launch it. And then my shareholders were concerned of the moral issue. And so we've changed our focus on that, and I now have someone who is interested in taking this water into kind of a different market, and it won't get to the kids. How's that? Solve that problem, didn't we?
These kids
It's a different market. It's those men who are driving the trucks on the highway, the big trucks, who have toxins all over in their bodies and drink and eat all kinds of crap. At any rate, so our focus is on that market, and so right now we're doing some tests with, and this would be a nationwide distributor.
You know the Flying J. The Flying J truck
Yeah,
sounds
yes,
about
we-
300. This
sure.
is the guy.
Yeah, good,
He wants
Okay.
to provide it for his truckers
good.
with foot bath.
And also just the hangover on its own.
Right.
So interesting. Okay, so that was kind of a surprise, and of course, in terms of physiology, it's really the ability of this water, T24, to counteract radical generation. Correct? That's what we're talking about. Vasodilation, I think, is significant, but I think alcohol is a major vasodilator.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know about the vasodilation part of it. But let's go on. Arthritis. We see a number of people reporting improvements in arthritis. Yes, Mary.
Linda. You're calling me Linda. I mean Mary. I'm Linda. You're nervous.
We know who you
No,
are.
I'm not nervous. My thoughts are way into into the technology and history of all of this. But a number of people. I personally have arthritis or bursitis
Mm-hmm.
in my right hip, and I can essentially modulate the pain with the water.
With what kind of dosage?
I get it down to a minimum 10 ounces a day.
And you still see the benefit. But the
And
highest.
now I can modulate 10 ounces a day with my device.
Yes. Okay.
Interesting. But we have a lot of really good reports, and we're focused with some people who have some serious problems with arthritis, and we're reporting good results. Arteriosclerosis, did I say it right?
Arteriosclerosis. You keep saying it.
Start with a TH.
No, A-R-T-E-R-O.
Okay.
I
Any
don't
rate,
know the arteries for the rest of us.
So anyway, we've seen some really good results with this. Congestive heart failure, his name was John, older man, and
He was Dr. Burr's patient. All of his labs went down like 5-10% after a month on the water. And his cardiologist said, "What are you doing?"
he had an 8% improvement in heart function,
Right.
if you recall.
In a month.
We continue to see older folks, older men particularly, showing good signs of this. We've got a person who's out 75 years old and he's out riding a bike 20 miles a day. His cardiologist said, "Just go away." And he'd had a number of heart attacks and was really in trouble. And his cardiologist just doesn't understand. We're seeing some really important improvements there. I hope I'm okay, Mary. I hope you can keep up with me.
Oh, you're
At
fine.
any rate, we know that the plaque buildup on the arteries is lipid rafts, and that and they calcify. And we also know that oxidized LDL blocks endothelial cell nitric oxide synthase. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
One more time, please. Intracell.
Epithelial cell nitric oxide synthase, or ENOS for short. So we see that oxidized LDL has some effect on NOS synthase, and I'm confident that I have created a precursor of nitric oxide that gets expressed in a different pathway, and the result of it is the generation of nitric oxide as we need it, where we need it, when we need it. Interesting. So it's not just a matter of drinking it, we know it's also focused on almost topical on where we need to focus. Diabetes. Fellow gave me this. He's probably 350, 400 pounds.
Wow.
He refuses to behave.
Mm-hmm.
But he shows his fasting blood sugar. He tests in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then he has 2 instances where he's drinking the water, and one is with the boost device I've been telling you about, and one is without. You can see the drop from the nominal value
Mm-hmm.
with or without the boost device.
Good.
And he went 2 days without water. He got a spike like that. Took 2 days for it to work out of his system. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
His name's Bud Brown.
And I've got some autistic children on this water.
And you're gonna get what?
I've got some autistic Lyme children on
Good.
this water.
Good. Good.
And they asked for their magic water.
We've got a little girl. We haven't even talked about cancer. Let's talk about cancer.
Yeah, she's got Lyme, autism, and a brain tumor. And they call it the magic water, and her tumor is not growing since she's been on the water.
Yeah, Mary's not seen this. Linda, I'm sorry. So anyway, that was interesting. Let's talk about tumors and cancer. A number of years ago, very early on, one fellow reported a inoperable tumor in his throat that would shrink if he drank my water. So he would drink my water, keep it down. And when he couldn't be supplied with water, it would grow back. We've had a number of cases. Loretta.
But I had in Dr. Burr's office, he came in the IV room to get me and said, "I want you to talk to these people. Do you think this water would work?" Esophageal cancer. They couldn't even get liquids down the man. And I said, yes. And he said, well, how are we going to get it down? I said, give me a big syringe. And I showed him how to measure on the syringe. And I said, you're going to do him just like you do a puppy dog, which will force a swallow. open the jaw, put the syringe down there and slowly, and I said, do an ounce an hour. Within a week, they could get purity food down. He was too far gone though and eventually died, but the water was able to open all that up.
So, just to give me a hand on where things are going, what was the largest dose that somebody needed before they really saw an effect? 60 ounces, I heard?
60 ounces a day.
On the cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah, with chondrosarcoma.
And
But normally we can run 20 to 40 ounces a day.
20 to 40.
On a regular cancer patient.
And so, are you concerned that there's, some people get too much of a cleansing reaction and they have to back down and go slower?
I'm the one that has shown those concerns because we had a cancer patient at the clinic and we had to back her down to an ounce a day because of the detox it created in her. When I first went on the water 2 years ago, I had a 5-day detox
Experience.
that was like, oh wow. I called Burr and I said, oh, what the hell are you giving me there? You know, I don't understand. And but that stopped.
So that's not something that you've encountered. You haven't had very many people say this aggravated a few symptoms for the first couple of weeks?
I haven't seen that very much. And I'm just wondering if it isn't more of the homeopathic.
Well, what my concern was, we had thought about putting 20-ounce bottles on grocery store shelves. And I didn't want somebody go in, buying the bottle, get out, run around all day drinking it, start a detox, and think the water had poisoned them.
I'm
If your
wondering-
average Joe doesn't understand detox.
Well, and I would share with you that one day I was out working in the yard on a hot summer day, and my shoes were too muddy to go back in the house and refill the water, but I had the jug outside, and I just drank the whole jug that day.
No ill effect.
No, I had a headache from being in the sun too much. I should have put some lemon minerals in there, but
I've not seen, I've seen one adverse effect, and we'll talk about it. That's really important to talk about. But I've only seen one. And being the science guy, I've wondered, well, exactly how much do you have to drink of this? And so I found that 10 ounces for me was about the minimum that I could get by with. And that's why I do that. And then, you know, and I don't know what effects it has on people, so we've just been trying to figure out doses. It seems like
Well,
a thing to do.
Well, nitric oxide is a really, hot topic, as you can see, with thousands and thousands of cases. And nitric oxide synthases are what I'm involved in with my chelation because the lead in human bodies inhibits nitric oxide synthases, so the efficient conversion of dietary arginine to NO is being inhibited in the average person. So everybody looks at me and sees my face is always red, and that's not because I'm on the water, it's because I can...
You think it's disgusting?
No, but I can efficiently convert arginine to NO.
That's
And
good.
that's kind of what we do with the IV chelation. We've been able to document we enhance blood flow. So blood flow is kind of my specialty. And there's all kind of ramifications of it in there. But there is no free lunch. If we all needed more nitric oxide, it becomes a poison.
Sure.
It's just like anything else.
I'm going to drop this fine man off and I'll be back in a little while.
Fantastic.
We've got your videotape, so anything you
Okay.
say will be for history.
Nice to meet you. I've even wondered if the magnesium stearates, which are in many of the homeopathic
Supplements.
remedies,
They're in many of the supplements, not just the remedies.
supplements, got it. I'm wondering if that is being leached out by the nitric oxide in my water somehow, and that's why some folks have a reaction of diarrhea. I don't know. Just a thought. But at least we're thinking. Cancer. There's a lady who had tumors on her liver, and the doctors advised her in this past June to have the family come home and say their goodbyes. And that was it. And her husband called and talked with me, and I started shipping the water. She was also using the foot detox. He's the same fellow who's involved with Flying J. In 12 weeks, she went back to the doctor, and CT scan showed that she had no more tumors on her liver. They were gone
12 weeks.
in 12 weeks.
She must have been using pretty big sized doses, you think? 60? Andy?
I would say 40.
Okay.
It's what I was shipping to, about 40 ounces.
You've been having, your wife was the first one to be the guinea pig taking it orally, and so that was when this all started, oral, and that's, oral use of it starts how many years then? 5 years?
Goes back further. At least 9.
9.
At least 9.
And you would think that since you have a pretty good handle on how much you've supplied, do you think you've had 1,000 people actually at one point or another have used some, or do you think it's just several hundred, or
More than 200.
more than 200? And what do you think is the longest user? You and your
Me.
wife? You.
Yeah.
And so you've been on it then the whole 9 years. And you continue to see, because that's rather dramatic on that blood sugar, that immediately on stopping it, you're right back to, kind of shows that you're not expecting any long-term benefit. You're going to have to stay on your water. Yeah.
Even this lady who had the tumors disappear from her liver, apparently her husband is willing enough to experiment with her, and I think they stopped giving her the water, and her tumors came back. So yeah, once you're on this water, you're on the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that good?
No, we don't mind. I mean, we're trying to...
Well, yeah, we're gonna sell it, hell yes, I want everybody to have to do
But,
it.
That's
but
a marketing side.
medically is the question. Is it good?
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
The thing is that they realize that what the issue is, I mean, it's easy to make a case for the fact that everybody DA's got lead and dioxin and PCB toxicity. It's easy to make the case.
Yeah.
It's not easy to document that we actually are getting rid of those things, because that's a whole other dimension. And when you start to prove anything in medicine, that's why the big boys keep on biting big bullets with their billion-dollar new drugs,
Yeah.
because they always wind up saying, "Oh, we didn't know it was doing that. We thought it was only doing this." And so there isn't going to be a free lunch. We need to understand that. It's likely that, I'm glad that you've already subcategorized it into A, B, C, D, because in the long run there will be different applications.
And that's exactly what we're touching on.
Exactly.
What would this do so you can stretch zeolite so we can make it cheaper to get zeolite into more hands?
See, with all of the work that we do, we already do a lot with water, but let's keep on going down the pathway. Did the aquaculture thing continue to develop? Has it become a business? Is that...
We dropped it flat. I finished doing studies with pigs about 5 years ago. I said, this is a greater benefit to humans. You know, why are we playing with animals? I mean, that potential is still there with the animals. Infant mortality is gone.
Oh, my dogs.
Dog-
You won't be taking this water away from my dogs. I got 2 labs that will growl at you if you go near the waterfall.
Well, so
It's interesting.
So did that, the aquaculture with you and your brother had been going on for 2-3 years before your wife tumbled on to taking it herself? So that you have...
Yeah, it was somewhat concurrent.
Okay.
Number of years ago. But then the human element became much more interesting. And that's what really surprised me, and I refocused my efforts in just testing with people, and be mostly acquaintances that I would have, and I just say, try this, and then try it and report results back. That's how I did it. Kind of interesting. I have one other person who has lymphatic, pancreatic, and liver cancer, doing very poorly. He started on the water in September, and the doctors are surprised he's still alive. He has lots and lots of energy. He trips to the water. He's doing detox therapies. He probably needs your product. and he's doing very well. He's doing very well. I don't know results of late.
Do you communicate with him?
Mhm.
Then I need to be communicating with him, because if he's detoxing, we do need to get him on some of the products.
So he says he has just tremendous amount of energy now that he didn't normally have. I don't know how to read that. A lot of energy. Lyme disease, we have lots of people
Yeah.
testing with Lyme disease, yes?
Yes.
And results are?
Yes, and they're all loving this water. In fact, a few of them say, I seem to get energy from this. Because, there's a lot of fatigue because of the crossover of chronic fatigue, Epstein-Barr, and all of that. And they're all saying that they don't have anything to release. That they can say that it's like antimicrobial, but it's like it gives them energy.
We have cups, we have still water, we have Perrier, and we have hot water for herbal tea. I'm at the point that I need
You want a break?
No. I want to keep going, but I wanted to find out who wanted to have herbal tea with me, and who just wants water, and who wants still water, and who wants bubbly water with Perrier.
Herbal tea.
So herbal tea,
Herbal tea?
and
Herbal tea.
so you guys better keep on the thing. You've got a bunch of customers here.
Thank you.
See what you got out there.
All right, that'll help. Help my throat. Well, by the way, I never get sick. I work in a group right now, and these guys travel into Indonesia and Southeast Asia and South America and so on, and they come back with really, really bad stuff. I never get sick. I never
you
get
make
sick
those
for
trips?
years.
So-
I don't make the trips.
Okay.
But I'm around them, and I should be infected.
Yeah.
And I will admit, years ago, yeah, I was infected, but I don't get sick anymore. I'm healthy, and I just laugh about these folks, and I shouldn't do that. Migraine is interesting. Dr. Burr was really excited one day. He called me and said, guess what? I was practicing today. I was sicker than most of the people because of my migraine, ocular type. He said, I tried my remedies, no effect. He said, I remembered Steve's water, so I drank it. In 2 minutes, my migraine was completely gone. Unquote.
He said he looked over at the desk and saw this glass jug, because he wanted his water in glass, and went, grabbed it, poured it in about 6-8 ounces, drank it down, and within less than 3 minutes, it was gone.
Dr. Burr, ocular migraine. And I've had a number of other people with migraine issues say, I haven't had a migraine for 5 months. I've been on your water. My favorite subject, the prostate. Something I suffer from, and many of us older gentlemen suffer from. And I found an effective remedy in 3 days. And it is, the interleukin 8, it'll cross, it doesn't just stay within the tissue of an organ, it'll actually cross the boundary and go to an adjacent organ. So Mr. Prostate should be this size, is stuck between Mr. Rectum and Mr. Bladder, and he's inflamed to this size all of the time, and all the difficulty we have at night, etc., etc. Well, I found that it's the interleukin 8s that are crossing over and causing the inflammation. The best experts say there's only in 12% of the prostatitis cases they actually find bacteria, but they always find markers of bacteria, is what they say. And so armed with that, I thought, what would this water do if it was applied as an enema in the rectum? And within 3 days, I can take care of Mr. Prostate.
Using it as an enema? So you don't see enough of benefit just taking the oil? I mean, it's
Not quite enough. That's right.
Although, Rick Melby, when I gave him the water on Wednesday night and told him we'll talk next Wednesday, he calls me on Saturday and says, I want more water, I want it now, I want it best, I want to know more about this. I said, wait a minute, let's talk about your prostate problem. He said, what prostate problem?
just drinking. Mine was more serious. So that does suggest a different type of colony of bacteria or something, I don't know.
Well, the story is always a lot more complicated. That's my point. I've spent $2 million going to medical meetings in 15 years, so there isn't any opinion that you have, but I can't show you the contrary opinion and show you how weak the evidence is for both sides. So I have to go down the middle of the thing and try to figure out what works for people. That's all. People only want to feel different. You and I can theorize all day long, but I can introduce you to Mr. Oxidant, who tells you you're full of hot air, that all you need is an oxidant, and antioxidants are the last thing you need. And he's just a professor at Johns Hopkins, and he's got about 14,000 references to back up that. So everything you're saying is completely wrong, but it's fun, because we live in that world. It's okay.
Shall I stop talking?
but it's where our belief systems are. So
Yeah.
all we're interested in is what works for people. So bottom line, you can have every theory in the world as to how it's working. So the theory is not as important as recognizing
Good,
it.
thank you. I mean, that's very valuable. All right, I've had a number of men report prostate results. And the ones that don't get the result by drinking the water, they'll use it as an enema, as I have.
And we've taught them to do a retention enema and actually try to, there's several kinds of enemas. One is just to push
You
something
know,
in.
doctor, I don't know any of that stuff, but I've
Okay.
been learning about it.
Okay, fine, okay.
Okay.
Well, the
Yes.
thing is, the enema is a fascinating story, technically.
If I put in more than 6 ounces, I can't retain. If I put in maybe 3 or 4, I can retain. I can feel when it releases and goes up the sphincter into the colon. I can feel it. I get shots and I get nerves shooting. I don't know what that means.
You know, I've had a gal that had some growths on her uterus, and they keep, in fact, she cleans for me, keep wanting to take it out. And I said, no, wait, let's douche with this water. Her douching with the water was shrinking those growths.
Okay.
Bizarre, I know. But I think this would be fantastic for women. I think that this would be the
Well,
product.
the thing is, you know, when we realize that water is the next major frontier for the world, you have to sit there and you have to put it in the category and say, okay, you know, I have a lot of experience with water, and it's all been very bad. People don't make money at water. Water is a bitch. I have found water that is done remarkable. We have water, healing waters like the Lord's, etc.
Mm-hmm.
We have found these kind of things, wanted to do good, get it in the hands of people, and by the time you realize what it costs to take it, even if it comes from the top of the mountain and say north of Reno, we have water that everybody's arthritis, wonder what cancers. I mean, there's lots of waters out there that does
Okay.
things.
All right.
I mean, there is water that is obviously interesting. Trinity found the one that had not been on the face of the earth since the time of Christ. And they put a lot of money into theirs. And they launched it nationwide, put a lot of money in. And then, oh, God, we didn't test it. It's loaded with arsenic. This is a small detail. You know, but by that time, they spent about $20 million. And they had all the bottling and all the marketing and the distribution and had it in the health food stores and the whole thing.
They never tested it?
Well, the world is complicated, okay?
Mine's been tested many
Tested
times,
for
I'll tell you.
arsenic.
I don't have arsenic in
Well, so that's what I want to get down to is seriously is that, you know, it's not hard to move things that help people feel better. This isn't hard.
mine. Right.
What you have to do is figure out, you know, how do you want to go about it? Because, frankly, I have to be real blunt. I mean, the Penta water by Bill Holloway, Biohydration Research San Diego, very close friends. I've spent years with them. And we've had the Russian, the Moscow Institute of Technology, their top scientists came over and met with us for several days. Because that water does stuff that no other water in the history of the world has ever done. And I helped them get it out. And it's in every store, and they sell it.
Yes, I know. I know about Penta. I've seen it. I've bought it.
And the thing is that it is clearly taken many people off of their dependence on oxygen. So many people no longer try oxygen because of that water. And it does have the unique ability that if you measure with what we call by bioimpedance to see what the exact amount of water is that's intra versus extracellular.
Okay.
That's a very standard therapy that's used to help monitor so people don't drown in their own fluids in intensive care ward where, a lot of people wind up dead.
Probably speaks to osmotic capabilities.
Exactly. And so that water does something in 5 minutes that no internist can do in 3 days. In 5 minutes, it dramatically carries goes intracellular. So when you think about it, if you wanted to say that, this is because they were recording us and we were doing an infomercial, and I said, well, one secret to pollution is dilution. In other words, if your cells are all dehydrated and they're lacking fluid, and they still have in there all that lead, mercury, cadmium, dioxin, PCB, if I just merely rehydrate it, I haven't solved your problem, but you sure feel a lot different. So we've been down every kind of roadway with waters. And so that starts out with a distilled water. But when he had to get to the point of having a reliable production facility, he went from something he spent about $1 million on into a $5 million plant. And it's pretty sophisticated. And yet he's lost control of the company because in order to get it out there, he was giving enough away free and having enough endorsements from big name people, et cetera, that the company kept on digging itself deeper and deeper. And they came to visit me not too long ago to see if I could come up with any great idea to let them maintain that commanding price, because they're the only ones out there with a price. And nobody had ever done it before that. Everything was just cheap, vodka, generic water in a bottle. And all of a sudden they said, no, we have something different. But you go all the way back to Willard Water, and Willard was, being attacked by CBS 60 Minutes. When they got done, they said he was real. They wanted to close him down.
Yeah.
They went there with big intent to kill him. But they said, God, all these patients are real. What's going on here? And there's a lot of science behind that. There's a lot of water is not a simple
Very interesting.
story.
Absolutely, yes.
And so what I'm trying to figure out is that, since you've got a career down there at that company and you've got this huge idea, I'm very interested in where you see it going, because the model of marketing that you've outlined will allow everybody to keep throwing money into the pond. But to have a successful business thing is really a rat race when you're talking about water, because it's so damn expensive to ship, it's this, it's that, et cetera, et cetera. And you've got. And so what they came to me about specifically said, Dr. Gordon, you go to every meeting, every test that's out there, and I knew those tests you've never ever heard of. What test can we do to prove that we're really doing something so we can hang our hat on it, and FDA and FTC have to leave us alone? And they wanted to get into the detox picture.
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm Mr. Detox, it looked like we could, keep on thinking. And I've thought of lots of different ways of trying to proceed to add something that would be unquestionable. For example, I'm Mr. EDTA.
EDTA
Is 4 molecule. It calls for ethylene, diamine, tetra for 4, acetic acid. So ethylene, diamine, tetraacetic acid. So you're talking 4 molecules of vinegar.
Okay.
Which uniquely have a configuration that allows it to do what we call chelation, which is from the Greek word chele, C-H-E-L-E, which is the word claw for the lobster claw. And it's suggesting that I can go and I can take, just like you get your dog to swallow the pill he doesn't want by putting it into the hamburger, I can take this protein-like material, because this is essentially a synthetic man-made amino acid.
Okay.
I can put it in the body, and it has this unique ability that it's going to deal with metals. But it's on a coordination scale based on the electron cloud and a lot of different things. So it's going to be much more tightly bound to lead, for example, than it is to calcium. So across the board, I can put it in your body, having the molecule already married somewhat, with at least having a date for the night, not necessarily married, an unstable relationship. But I can put it in the body with the calcium, it would dump the calcium, and it would say, lead, you're who I've been looking for my whole life. And now it grabs the lead, and because the EDTA is not metabolized in the body, and because it's going to leave the body very reliably, very shortly in the kidney, it's clearly a documented, no-nonsense, provable way that lead levels have to leave your body. This is no dream. So as a result of my being on it for 15 years, I have no detectable level of lead. One of the few people in the world. So at age 73, I'm thinking...
Very good.
So I'm thinking that basically, across the world, as I'm positioning myself to go forward with several different infomercial companies, how to stay out of trouble with FDA, how to do something good for the public, how to have it affordable, and all the issues that are involved. I'm looking at what was front page news in the New York Times a week ago. You got a great drug there, but does it do anything? That was the New York Times tearing the statin industry a new behind. Now, how big is the statin industry? It's about 13 billion.
Yes.
And they just said, there's a funny thing going on. We're spending our money, we're buying our statins, but are we living longer? And there's not a shred of evidence that anybody's living a day longer. To show you how upside down science can be, and none of your colleagues at Raytheon would understand this unless they are really into health, way beyond passing interest. Every time you lower cholesterol in any study in the history of mankind, you could manipulate slightly the number of heart attacks. But you pay for it because cholesterol is a building block of the membrane of every cell in your body, and you have to have 10 billion new cells a day. And it's also involved in steroid synthesis, and so that has a lot to do with all your sex hormones. So, if I look at the Lipitor story, the truth is you had lower deaths in two categories in every case, and they won't release these. They got billions of dollars resting to keep everybody from knowing this.
So tell me heart attacks.
Accidents and suicide. And it's irrevocable and it's never failed. And it's in every piece of literature you read. I have textbooks up the yin to prove all this.
Yeah.
Because you can't interfere with the basic building block of the body's machinery without paying for it. So that's just the obvious. So I'm only alerting us so that at the early stages...
There's some reality in this.
Exactly. So that we realize that the day will come, if we have a huge success and we're up there right next to Perrier, that somebody will be able to throw some rocks at us and say, hey, when you have this condition, you already are producing too much nitric oxide, and that water is going to help kill that person. They're going to give us a lot of crap.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to start out with the potential then of saying, if we can find the right pathway to come in on, and that would mean that we would hopefully find something that really provably did lower some toxins in the body. But measuring toxins, just to give you a dollar figure, I'll give you my DVDs today because you're obviously interested in this thing. Ron Williams helped me get off of major shows like Nova and the CNN special on the Planet in Peril, which they spent incredible 2 years documenting how we're all going to die with this current, what we've been doing to the world. Yeah. And it takes just a check for $4,900 to measure the 20 tubes of blood. And that's just...
$4,900.
You heard me. But if you go National Geographic, they didn't want to settle for a second rate test. They went for 330 chemicals, and that's $13,000 per test. But in any event, you don't have to spend the money because we have done it to thousands of people now, and it's all published, and nobody has passed the test. So there isn't a person living on the planet that doesn't have dioxins and PCBs and all of this wonderful phthalates. Have you been hearing about the phthalates?
I haven't.
The plastic bottles that we use are going to leach phthalates, PTHALATE. They cause inflammation of nerves. They are absolutely proven to drop the testosterone levels and modulate things and help lead to the epidemic of infertility in our country. We used to know how to make babies. Now we have to have fertility clinics on every corner. It's amazing. 40% of people with men will no longer have their own child,
Yeah.
So the game's getting a little bit outrageous. So as we look at solving the problem, I had told Linda that if I could solve the problem for Penta, because when Penta got into financial troubles, Deepak Chopra has a buddy, and I don't have his name on the tip of my tongue, But the buddy was the guy that stepped up to the bat when Bill Holloway couldn't make ends meet anymore, and he was the founder and the principal driver. And Bill's a nice guy. He was on a nuclear sub. He was involved in the nuclear main running of that sub, and he got so loaded with toxic metals, and he's the world's worst patient. He believes in me, and he takes 2 of my pills, even if I give him all 3 of charge. Just forget it. He's not going to make it. Okay? So.
Crazy fool.
So the thing is that Bill finally lost control of the company, but they now have him involved in just the topical applications of the water. And they can do plastic surgery on anybody and show that if you spray this side of the face, the healing is in 1/2. We have all the documentation. So this isn't all phony, airy-fairy.
Okay,
There's tons of
we have a cancer patient which they're gathering a report on down at the clinic, and her breast is half eaten away. She's spraying the breast with the water, and it's drying it up.
It will. Well, this is good stuff. I mean, the topical application is a whole thing, but there's no money to be made here, and there's nothing that's going to pay anybody's expenses to teach anybody all this stuff. You've got to remember, whenever you have a business, you've got lights and power and stuff, and phones that have to ring and stuff, and it's got to be somewhere a couple of dollars in profit in the thing to keep it going forward. And so we need to look at it. So what I was hoping was that I was going to be lucky enough that I was going to be so rigid. Because, see, here's the thing. Because I've already got no lead, that means that my nitric oxide synthases are not being knocked out by toxicity.
Okay.
So
they're working at prime. Okay.
Exactly. So therefore, I, of all people, could be expected to get 1/10 the amount of benefit with your water of somebody else. And that's about what happened.
Okay.
So I was hoping, against hope, that it was going to be a different pathway, and I could go out and passionately say, on top of everything else I've done, I now have the next step up the ladder, and I found that you have a different pathway to getting the same pathway I'm at.
Okay.
You are working the nitric oxide story.
Okay.
It's a good story.